that we have a trial date, March 25th, 2024. And if you're looking at your calendar trying to figure out if you're already booked, well, the former president is already booked. It is smack dab in the middle of the Republican primary. Judge Juan Merchan said during this time, the former president should not make any personal or professional commitments. The former president, who joined with his attorney Todd Blanche via Zoom, was visibly frustrated. He was muted, but was gesturing, smirking, and talking to his attorney during this part of the hearing. Otherwise, he was still. They also dealt with a protective order, which bars Trump from talking about materials the prosecution hands over during discovery, including on social media. Blanche told the judge Trump was concerned about his First Amendment rights being violated, but Merchan says he has no intention to impede Trump's ability to campaign. He says he's free to deny the charges, to campaign on it, anything that doesn't violate the order. The prosecution sought this out because of what they call his history of, quote, harassing, embarrassing, and threatening statements. Trump only spoke to acknowledge he read the protective order and went over it with his attorney. Judge Merchan warned violating it could result in sanctions or being held in contempt of court. He did not read the order aloud in the room. The hearing also dealt with some smaller deadlines of motions and things of that nature as we lead up to the trial in 2024. But this may be one of the last times we see Judge Merchan on the bench in this case. The defense is trying to get this case moved down the street to federal court because they say it has to do with while he was president. A hearing for that is scheduled later next month. Alex Miller, Scripps News, New York.